Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw. Oh, look at this. Okay, so this is a photo in a competition where there's somebody walking in a blue-red gi. So it's a BJJ or could be judo or karate, uniform. He's lifting his arm up. Is this you? Because I can't see the face very well. That's you.
That's me.
Ah,
yeah. I thought I'd throw that in there.
Okay, but of course, throwing your arm up in victory. The ref is wearing a suit, which I think is and this is an IBJJF photo.
Yeah, so I compete regularly. I thought I'd throw that in there. It's part of my life.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so how old were you the first time you had a competition?
In jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
34 or 35.
Okay. Yeah. And how old are you now?
49.
Nice, respect. And when was this photo done?
That's from a year ago.
Okay.
Yeah. That particular tournament was the International Masters in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it's that particular tournament is not like the Worlds necessarily. The IBJJF decided to tie in the International Masters to the World Adults tournament, which I think it's a good idea because you have all the coaches show up to coach their students, but they get a chance to compete before the actual Worlds. This is kind of like the little pre-Worlds tournament before the big adults division, Worlds division. So it's a little competitive. It's not as competitive as the Pans or the World Masters, but it's pretty cool. Like I forget how many people were in my division in that particular time. But
dare I ask how high up you went? How well you did in the competition?
Well, I won the gold medal for that tournament.
Oh, nice. Respect.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So how many combats was that? Was it 2, 3?
There's 3.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 fights.
Wicked.
Yeah. So it's not that much, It's good enough to get you walk away like you got a bit of a workout.
Oh, for sure. This was to submission, or this was points. Like how?
This is IBJ. Yeah, these are IBJJF points.
Okay. So why don't you explain how this is what is the competition usually like? How long is the fight? How long?
Yeah, the Masters black belts, you get 5 minutes per match. It's based on points, so there's a lot of rules. There's there must be 50 pages of rules, so I won't get too much into it. But there's the points. Mm-hmm. Throwing someone down, is 2 points. Passing their guard, that's 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
Holding the knee on the belly is 2 points, and then getting mount is 4. Taking the back is 4, and sweeping is 2.
Okay, so it's a long road, long uphill battle with a lot of defeat and setbacks. And so when would you say you had your first moment where you thought, okay, that was a win? that I'm making progress.
Well, I competed a lot locally as a white belt and blue belt, and my approach in competition, because at that time, I wasn't spending a lot of time with my instructors. I opened up the BUDO gym in Burnaby as a blue belt. So I was teaching all the time, and I'm like, okay, how am I going to get better and learn? So competing was my way to do that. Mm-hmm. And I would take each match and look at my mistakes and fix it. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, I thought that was great to do. I just did it regularly every year. So that's when it's not me winning a match or winning or doing well. It was more like, oh, this is what I need to do to get better at jiu-jitsu. So it was never about trying to win a championship. That's a huge bonus. Of course, it's fun. And it's good to have more than one match. You see, like IBJJF, it's an elimination. When you lose, that's it. You got to walk away. So it pays off to win a few matches, so you can move. You know what it feels like to make it to the finals. For example, there's a level of intensity that is required to move up through your division. So all learning experiences.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's not based on success in the tournament, but more based on how much I've learned
Right.
is incredible. I feel like I have a lot to offer to the students, on the technique level or even
Mm-hmm.
competition.
Mm-hmm. Like one of the things that it does tend to be more males or guys than females. So yeah, as somebody, so for example, as somebody who's done Muay Thai and it's a lot of striking, and trying to sort of teach my daughter who's 11, obviously just the size differential, like because like in a striking sport, like I think size and weight and reach are huge advantages. So why don't you talk about why BJJ is offers a slightly different solution to that?
Yeah, well, BJJ is based on. I mean, there's a reasonable. I think there's a size difference. Sometimes it's just not gonna, it's
You
not gonna
can't.
make it. Yeah, I can't lie and say, yeah, doesn't matter what size you are. You
Hmm.
can be 80 pounds and you'll beat everybody. It's not
Hmm.
realistic, but it gives you a fighting chance. Um, just understanding how to leverage someone's body weight
Hmm.
and be efficient with your energy and learning how to stay calm when heavily under pressure is huge value alone.
Hmm.
I don't know if kickboxing or Muay Thai can offer something like that, a striking art.
Hmm.
It's just the grappling is so intense. You can really feel, like, I'll never forget. When I was doing karate, I must have been like 12 years old, and we had this young wrestler kid come in. He was 14, and it was before class, and he decided to just wrestle me down. And I thought I was not half decent fighter, like
Hmm.
on my feet. I had no idea about wrestling or anything.
Hmm.
I just felt like he beat the shit out of me, and I felt so small, man.
Hmm.
And that feeling sucked. But I'm sure if I was doing jujitsu, I would feel like a lot more comfortable because I mean, like I teach some kids, and sometimes if I put pressure on them, they don't look overly scared. They have
Hmm.
experience. They're like, oh yeah, this is familiar.
Yeah.
Being like smashed a little bit. It's like, yeah, this sucks, but and they kind of understand there's some techniques that can save them from that pressure.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's pretty deep.
Yeah, it's so. For example, I think one of the things that, speaking of my kid, my daughter, like okay, here's something that's interesting about being Canadian or North American, right? Where there's baseball and hockey. You know, if you when you grow up in a culture where those sports are there, the idea of the hand-eye coordination of taking a ball and then anticipating and knowing how to throw it, but also how to catch it, with one hand. It's a skill. So what would do with my daughter is I'd have her stand there and I would throw a tennis ball at her head, and I try to hit her head with a tennis ball. And so what I'm trying to do is get her used to this idea of not just closing her eyes and freezing, but to sort of open her eyes and look at the ball coming, and then understanding that she can move her head and anticipate the arc of the ball coming at her head, but also to lift up her hand to protect her face. And similarly, like when you're doing Muay Thai and you're being punched or you're being kicked, it's this idea of unlearning the reaction of closing your eyes and hiding versus, okay, you actually open your eyes, you kind of go into the punch, you kind of move, you protect yourself, all this stuff. So in the same way, right, in something like jiu-jitsu, where it's kind of like you have somebody better than you just kind of crushing you and locking you all up, which can be a very, the fight or flight instinct is super, like, kicks in. And so I think for white belts, it's like, it's constant, like, panic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, like, desensitizing yourself to that, right? So for example, with kids, when you're teaching them that, how do you get them to just, because what's interesting about your school and your approach is that you do a lot of talking. You really do a lot of, like, let's deconstruct this. So how do you deconstruct that as a lesson for somebody to kind of understand that actually you've got time, you can make space?
Yeah.
How do you explain that?
First of all, I always tell new students that the gym is like a laboratory, that there's no shame ever. You go there to experiment. And anytime someone is attacking you, you're safe. You just tap.
Mm-hmm.
Tap. The person is going to stop. And then we'll talk about it. And I tell them, you got to learn how to relax. The first lesson in jiu-jitsu is all going to be about surviving and defending someone attacking you. It's the natural progress, and it's
Mm-hmm.
totally okay, and it's important. It's very important to go through that stage, way more than learning a bunch of attacks and always being on the offense. You got to learn how to relax deeply under pressure. And
Mm-hmm.
like, even for myself, I put myself there quite often just to remind myself, like, yeah, it's totally cool. Someone's trying to choke me out, no big deal.
Because, but in a competition, you're going against somebody who's in principle should be matched at, who's going to be at your level or above your level or whatever, and then you're right back in that moment where, even though you're at this point very competent and very capable, all of a sudden you're facing somebody who's maybe above you and is just is going to really kind of threaten you, and then you have to somehow relax into it to figure
Yeah.
to think your way out of the problem.
Well, I think, after years of experience, you realize that it's a technical match. So
Mm-hmm.
emotions have to be put aside.
Okay.
I really believe jujitsu is the more emotional you are towards the fight, the harder it is going to be to think your way through situations.
Mm.
And to remain tactical is a lot more important. And to relax your mind and being playful really helps, kind of like having your techniques available to you, because there's so much.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much. If you're very narrow minded, I mean, this is my approach. Like, I'm sure other people have different ways, but my approach is like, if the more relaxed I am,
Mm-hmm.
um, the more information is available to my brain.
Mm-hmm.
The easier it is for me to go, oh yeah, I got this option and that option. I got like 3 options right now, and I'm going to play with this. I'm going to pretend I'm going to go this way, but I'm going to try the other way. And if they don't give me the other way, I'm just going to proceed that one direction.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm under attack, that which happens, like I'm in danger, and then I got to put it in my mind, well, the fight's not over, I got 3 minutes. So I try
Mm-hmm.
to always have a positive attitude. So there's a lot of self-talk, and it takes a long time to train this, especially
Yeah.
when you're fighting. You're fighting, like, you're competing against someone very good, and your team is there. You don't want to embarrass yourself. You got to kind of be like, okay, I got to get out of the situation. I have time. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
have time. So it keeps you positive. And then you got to get the hell out of there. So you're in trouble.
Mm.
And again, it's jujitsu. It's totally cool. It's okay.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
lose, you just try to walk away and find out where something went wrong. It's a lot of troubleshooting. And
Yeah.
if you have that mindset, I think it's going to help a long-term jiu-jitsu journey.
Sure. So, is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So, if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.